Hello everyone. Today we're going to discuss how to build your Airbnb empire. And I'm going to use an article that Bloomberg put out last month. And the title of the article is Americans Are Building Vacation Home Empires with Easy Loan Money. Now, this article was written in June, and Bloomberg was showing how people, mainly in Tennessee and other parts of the country, not in New York, not yet, are borrowing money from private lenders, like millions of dollars, so they can grow their empire. And that caught my attention. And if you don't know the Airbnb business, if you read this article, you would be totally horrified, because it sounds like people are going out and borrowing money from private lenders. And then what if the Airbnb market crashes? What if they can't pay it back? So I called one of the lenders that was in the article, and I spoke to him for an hour. And we had a great chat, and he explained the product to me. And it sounds like an amazing, exciting product. So I decided to do a video on this article. And I'm gonna share with you how you can build your Airbnb empire. So borrowing money for your Airbnb business is nothing new. Way before everybody and their mama was doing Airbnb, I was doing it in 2010. And this is how I myself was able to scale my business to 7 figures, by using OPM. Now, what is OPM? I'm sure you've heard that before. Other people's money. Guess what? Rich people use OPM. If you check Walmart or Target or the big names that you know, if you check their financial information online, you will see all the lenders that they have. So if multi-billion-dollar companies are using other people's money, why aren't you? And so one of the great things about using other people's money is the risk is on the other person's money. Obviously, you don't want to borrow money so you could default on it, but wouldn't you rather risk somebody else's money than your own? And so back when Airbnb was not well known, there was a program for hosts. It was called Capital Host Program. And it was really cool because a private lender would lend you money and then they would take it out of your payout. So this program contacted me and said, hey, do you want to borrow money? I don't know how these people find people's name because it's a private lender. I would get stuff in the mail. I would get emails all the time. But when I got an email from them, and it was coming from, I think Airbnb gave them my information, obviously, because they contacted me on my Airbnb dashboard and say, hey, we're offering money. We're offering loans to hosts who make a lot of money. Do you want to borrow money? And I got the information. I spoke to the lender. I swear to you, in 72 hours, I had $25,000 in my account. And I was able to go out and get a brand new Airbnb property and furnish it and put it on Airbnb and make that money back in no time. And so there were lots of programs like that around 2015, 2016, before the whole world knew about Airbnb, and I took advantage of them. I have borrowed money from Cabbage, I borrowed money from Blue Vine, I've borrowed money from so many of these private lenders, and it's really helped me scale my business. So if you want to scale your business, this is a great way to do that. However, because Airbnb is so well known now, and because of the regulations, private lenders are not so generous anymore. You know, back then it was a handful of people doing it, and so they were willing to take that risk. Even back then it was high risk because I did not purchase these properties, I leased them. And then I profited from them. Sometimes I would make more money than my landlord, you know. And so the lender was smart enough to understand that it was high risk, but it took the chance with just me or maybe 10 people. But now there are so many Airbnb hosts. I can't keep track of how many Airbnb hosts are on the platform. These lenders are not going to do that with rental arbitrage, which is when you rent a property and then you put it on Airbnb. They're not going to take that risk with so many hosts. And the regulations make things harder because the days of having 10 to 15 properties on the platform are over. So that's how I was able to make all that income. And so the lenders understand that, so they're not really that generous with rental arbitrage. However, this article was about people who are purchasing homes through a very little known loan product that is through private lending, not through the government, that is called DSCR, which stands for Debt Service Coverage Ratio. And what makes this loan product interesting is that they don't check your income, they don't check your job. What they do is they make sure that you make enough money from your rentals to cover the mortgage. And it's very different than the second home loan because you can have multiple properties in the same neighborhood through the same lender, as long as you meet the ratio. And the ratio is 1%, which means if you make enough money to pay the mortgage, it's called PITI, P-I-T-I, payment, insurance, taxes, and interest. If you make enough money to pay those things, they'll lend you the money. And if you know anything about Airbnb hosts make a lot of money. And so now they are packaging these DRCR loans and advertising them to Airbnb investors. But there are rules to follow. So I called a nice gentleman and we sat down and we spoke on the phone, and I told him that I'm an Airbnb coach. Can you please tell me about this product, because I want to do a YouTube video about it. And he was so nice and he went over the product with me. And so I'm gonna go over the qualifications for these products. He made sure to explain to me that these products are for the high-end investor. It's not for somebody who just woke up and says, oh my God, I heard that so-and-so's making $40,000 a year off of one property, I'm gonna go out and get a loan. That's not how it works. You have to have been on Airbnb for at least a year. You have to show proof of income. You have to, it's a number of things you have to do to qualify. Just because they don't check your income or your employment doesn't mean that they're just gonna give money away. What's interesting is when I was in the Dominican Republic and I was looking at properties there, I met people who purchased properties to put on Airbnb. And when I spoke to these people who purchased, they did not know anything about the Airbnb industry. They just knew that they could make a lot of money on Airbnb. They went out and risked their own money, because in the Dominican Republic, I talk about it in my videos, you need to put 50% of your cash up. How can you put 50% of your cash up and you don't know anything about an industry? So you can risk your own money, but the lender is not going to risk their money in such a high risk industry like Airbnb. You really need to prove yourself to get these types of loans. So these loans are not for people who are dreamers, who want to start an Airbnb and they're like, oh, I'm gonna start an Airbnb, I'm gonna make all this money, but they don't know their industry, they don't know a thing about hospitality, they don't know how to even price their property right. So it's for somebody who's been on the platform for a year and with proven income, who knows hospitality, who understands how pricing works, who understands seasonality, who understands that I can get more properties in the neighborhood and make more money, and who can show that. You have to show that you have that experience in order to get that product. So I'm gonna go over the qualifications. First of all, in order to get a loan like that, I'm reading his notes because I don't want to say anything wrong. You need to put down 20% of the property in cash. That shouldn't be a problem if you have an Airbnb business because you have a lot of cash flow. You need to have at least a 680 FICO score. They pull all three of your credit scores. You need to have your own home, like your primary home, a mortgage on your own home to show that you have history in the past, positive with real estate and with mortgages, and you're paying a home on time. You also can get many properties as long as you can get up to $1 million with them, as long as you can prove that you can pay. Obviously, they're not going to give you $1 million off the bat. You can get a home, you see a home, you started your business, you're like, oh, I've been in rental arbitrage for about 3 years now. I've been in Tennessee. Tennessee is really popular. I'm using Tennessee because a lot of these people in the article are from Tennessee. And so I'm in Nashville, Tennessee. A lot of people come out here because they like country music, or I'm in a part of Tennessee that has cabins. Tennessee is very well known for cabins. And I've been doing really well. I made $560,000 each year in the past 3 years. I'm ready to purchase a property. So you prove to the lender you can do that. You prove that you meet the ratio, which is 1% or at least 1.25%. This lender, he needed you to make 1.25% of the mortgage, which is very easy to prove that you make if you have an Airbnb business. And so you're like, I know my business really well. I know the busy seasons. I know the slow season. Why is it important for you to know that? Because if you don't make enough money during the slow season, you won't be able to pay for your mortgage. So you're ready, you feel confident, you've been in business for 3 years. This program is for you. You own your own home. It doesn't have to be in the same state that you do business in. And you're ready to move up the ladder and be a homeowner. What else did he say about this property? So interest rate, this is a question people are gonna ask about. Because this is a private lender, it's not a government loan, it's not backed by the government, it hovers around 7%. Totally much higher than a standard regular conventional loan. I asked him a question that I really was interested in, because when I read the article, I felt that it was a risky product. I said, what is your default rate? He said, I have no default rate. My investors are professional Airbnb entrepreneurs. We don't default on these loans because we vet these investors before we approve them for a loan. And so that was very important to me to make sure. And I also asked him about subprime. We went over subprime. We talked about what happened in 2007, 2008. And I said, this sounds like something people could get in trouble in, because if you bite off more than you can chew, then what happens when you can't pay the mortgage because you're not bringing in enough money on your short-term rentals? He said, this is not a subprime product. This because at first when I read the article, it sounded like, some type of subprime sketchy product. And so he made me feel so confident about the program. and he is willing to come on my YouTube channel and answer questions that you may have about this product. It's a really exciting product. You may not be ready to do this yet because you have to build your Airbnb business and have proven income before you apply for something like that. But it's something to think about, because if you want to expand your business and you can't really do it anymore the way I was able to do it, and I explained to him, I said, listen, I never owned a property for my Airbnb business. I did everything through rental arbitrage. Can someone who does rental arbitrage do this? And he said, no. You need to at least own your own home. So you need to have your home that you have a mortgage on, and then you can do this and also be an Airbnb entrepreneur. And so I cannot wait for him to come on the YouTube channel so we could, give more in-depth information. But it was a great conversation. It was a starting point, and it's also something for you to start working on in the future. So if you have a 10-year plan and you want to start your Airbnb business, first, what you do is you get your properties lined up. I would suggest that you start off with rental properties. There's less risk. When I had my Airbnb business during COVID, and COVID came, my whole entire year was booked from 2019. That's the type of business I had. We would be fully booked by December of the year before. And by April of 2020, everybody canceled. If I had owned these homes, what would I have done? I would have called the bank and said, here's your homes. You can't do that. So I called my landlords and I gave them back their properties around May and June, because when I realized this is not going to get any better, we're about to be locked down for a long time. And the landlords understood we were having a crisis. But if you're starting out in this business, you need to understand your business before you bite off more than you can chew. So I would suggest that first you start off in rental arbitrage. Make sure that you have your own home. Take the money from rental arbitrage and buy your own personal home for yourself, and then run your business just renting properties and making your money that way. Now with the regulations, it might be a little more difficult, but there's ways around that. Once you've proven yourself in 24 months through rental arbitrage, now the next step is, on year 3, is to start purchasing homes through these programs. You get your first home, you put 20% down, you make money, then you get a second home through these private lenders, and then you make money, and next thing you know, this is how you build your empire. So like I said, this is a very exciting program. I think it's amazing for the advanced Airbnb entrepreneur. And if you are a new Airbnb entrepreneur, this is a plan that you have for yourself. And so I wanted to share this with you. I'm going to put a link of the Bloomberg article so you can read it and understand how the loan is. It's very straightforward. And I also asked him, how is this different than the second home loan? He said second home loans are backed by the government, and they require more, and the government does not allow you to have multiple homes next door to each other. So let's say I have this property right here, and I purchased it, and it's making a killing. I can't get the property next door through a second home loan through the government. I can only have this property, and that's it. And so that's the big difference. And of course, the second home loan, you only put 10% down. Your FICO score doesn't have to be 680. It's more flexible, but at the same time, it's more restrictive. And so I wanted to go over these things with you. I think I've covered everything. I covered what a coverage ratio is. It's at least 1%. You need to show that you make at least 1% of the mortgage in order to get approved. I talked about the 15 to 20% down, the 680 FICO score that you need. You need to have a 680 FICO score. 12 months on Airbnb with provable income. The 7% interest rate, it's not exactly 7, but it's like floating around 7, like 6.8. It's pretty high compared to a traditional mortgage. No employment verification, which is great. A lot of people who make a lot of money, who are self-employed cannot, get conventional mortgages. Why? For example, I made more than $500,000 every year since 2010, but when I file my taxes, I show I make no money because I write everything off. So it's really hard to get approved for mortgage when you show you have no money. So this type of loan is good for you because you don't have to prove employment. You just have to prove that your properties and your business makes enough money to pay the mortgage. This is very attractive. Also, he talked about how you can get multiple properties through their product. After you get one home, you get two homes. There's no restriction on distance. And 3 months reserve. You need to have 3 months cash reserve in the bank. So if your mortgage is $1,000, you need to have $3,000. If you're an Airbnb host, you make $3,000 a day. Okay, so you have that money. And so if anybody has questions about this product, please post them in the video and I will reach out to the gentleman and have him answer it. In the next few weeks, I'm going to be working on having him, do a Q&A like I did with the, Dominican Realtor, to clarify more questions that you may have about this product. But I just wanted to start off and share this with you, and go read the Bloomberg article for yourself so you can see what this product is about. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed my video. I will see you in the next one.